DreamBox is a highly adaptive learning math program that creates an individual learning pathway for every student. The system assesses student skills based on how they solve problems rather than on a single assessment. DreamBox has two products. The one you see before you is the primary environment, and the one that I'm going to show you at the second half of this is their intermediate environment. We use the primary environment for early childhood through second grade, and the intermediate environment for grades 3 through 5. So unlike other programs, DreamBox does not have students take one large assessment at the beginning. Rather, they assess students continuously as they work through the curriculum, both before a student starts any new unit within the program and within the lessons themselves. DreamBox adjusts the student's learning path based on these assessments. Before a student begins working on any new unit within DreamBox, they're going to take a quick 8 to 10 question pretest on the most difficult requirements of that unit. The pretest looks like any other lesson, so students don't realize that they are actually taking a test. DreamBox is able to very quickly assess if a student understands a concept, or if a student does not understand a concept and needs to move into adaptive lessons within that unit. The integration of assessment and instruction ensures that DreamBox captures any gaps in student understanding and fills those gaps, and also ensures that the students understand the concepts before moving on. This is an example of a first grade math rack lesson. So initially, DreamBox will teach the student how to use the manipulative, and that happens by teaching the students how to tilt the rack. Then students will learn how to move individual beads, then multiple beads, and then whole rows. So Stella, the character in DreamBox, will ask the student to make the number, it looks like 17 before you, in a different way on the math rack. And if you think about a first grader or a kindergartner at the early developmental stages of math, and you ask them to make the number 17, more than likely they will move it one bead at a time. So this DreamBox will interpret as knowing cardinality, or one-to-one correspondence, and the basic understanding of the number. They can get the answer right this way, but there are more efficient ways to do so, like moving numbers in groups of 5, in groups of 10, or even tilting the rack and then removing 3. So students that are able to solve the problem in different ways will get a different automated pathway based on what the program learns about their ability. This is the DreamBox neighborhood, or the landing page for all students in the primary environment. In My House, students can view the adventure friends they've earned over here, the certificates that they've earned for completing storylines, the coins that they've earned for mastering concepts, and also they can change their avatar, but also practice the tutorials here in the red box. Teachers, you can also use these tutorials for whole group lessons. So if you want to use a math rack to teach a concept or a different tool, it's a great idea to actually put these up on the wall and use the projection ability of these tools to teach students how to use them before entering DreamBox. When we leave the house, we return to the neighborhood, and from here, we'll go to the carnival next. In the carnival, students can play problem-solving games like the maze, the dunking game, there's a frog race, and there's a petting zoo. These are strategy games that are not adaptive. They progress from one level to the next, similar to something like Angry Birds, and they require students to use problem-solving skills, but they're not based on any type of curriculum. They're pure rewards. After hearing from numerous teachers that we needed to control student access to these, we actually put locks in front of the house and the carnival, only to be unlocked one day a week. Within the adventure park, as you can see before us, students have the opportunity to choose from 4 different environments. They can be shipwrecked with the pirates over here. They can journey in the time machine with the professor to see the dinosaurs. They can dance with the pixies or play with Hemi the hamster. So regardless of what storyline the student chooses, the content of the lessons will remain the same. Here's one of those lessons. Once the student chooses their story, they venture onto a learning pathway like this one, and the student has a variety of lessons to choose from. As the student finishes lessons, they earn coins, and when they finish them, they're also represented with these green check marks. This is a quick overview of the unit cycle progression. So you start with the tutorial, and then the recommended lessons come from there. So you learn how to use the tool, then the recommended lessons, then the pretest, and then a completed lesson. If the student does not pass this pretest, then the program will actually needs to know or knows that the student needs that unit, and it will enable the student to get more recommended lessons to practice along the way. Here's just a quick summary of how I think DreamBox could be best used. Students always start in the adventure park, then set up a routine. Ask them to complete 2 recommended lessons first, and then allow them to play one that perhaps has a green check mark already as an exploration, but then back to 2 more recommended lessons that they're earning coins. Remind them to use the help button if they have a question, but to finish every lesson that they open. This is the intermediate environment, and so you can see that students have a dashboard here instead of a neighborhood. And again, we use this for grades 3, 4, and 5. This dashboard is going to display 8 units on the landing page. And here are the icons for the lesson map. This will be at the bottom of every single lesson. The pin is going to indicate where the student is. When opening a coin unit, DreamBox is always going to give them a recommended lesson. We want to make sure that students spend the majority of their time playing lessons that are represented with a coin. This lock is going to indicate that a student has content that they're not ready for. A locked check-in is a pretest that has been taken. This blue star appears when a student is taking a pretest for the unit. The orange T is a tutorial lesson that teaches the student how to use the virtual manipulative. When a student passes a pretest, it's going to be called Stuff You Know. The ready for play is where most of the coins live, so students should want to play the ready for play ones because they can earn the most coins. And when the student completes the lesson, the box is going to fill with a green check mark. And if the student plays the same lesson with success 3 times in a row, they're going to earn that gold seal. So here's just an example so you can learn. At the bottom, this is a tutorial lesson, and you can tell because it's a coin or recommended lesson. And the pin on the map is going to illustrate that the student is currently participating in the tutorial right here. This one is a little bit different. It's a check-in lesson or a pretest, and you can see so because first it's a recommended lesson. It has a coin, and the pin indicates that the student is currently taking the pretest, which is on the blue star. The only difference is the absence of a thermometer, which is how you can tell it's a pretest, and this too hard button is actually added in. And so here we know that the student, if they hit this, they just are confused and they need easier content right off the bat. If the student is going to pass the pretest like you see in front of you, all the lessons in the unit are green checked, as you can tell from down here. The student completes all the lesson within this unit, and you can see all the green check marks, so there's no more unknown content. And you can also tell because the thermometer here has a green check mark at the top. So to reinforce learning, students can access their My Stuff, which is similar to My House in the primary environment. And in here they can earn badges, as you can see. Some of these are pretty cool, but you can get like 50 correct answers in a row, or just all sorts of different incentives. In the collections, they can collect objects which open mini games. Again, these are locked except for 1 day a week. And students collect an object, and then they can collect, once they've collected 4, a mini game will open up. The mini games cost 500 coins to play and last for about 90 seconds. The games target math fluency concepts that the student is covering. So the games are actually fluency here, not problem solving. So essentially we're rewarding math with more math. Here's the My Stuff, and this is where they can do all the personalization. So they can listen to music, they can pick their wallpaper, and they can also pick a different icon as well. When a student runs out of coins or they spend them all, they have to return to their lessons to earn more. Here's just a quick summary of what I think the best practices in the intermediate are. And again, quite similar to the primary environment. You want to choose a coin unit and then select a coin lesson, play 2 to 3 coin lessons, and then allow the student to have a exploration. Again, finish everything that gets opened or that gets started. Use the question button. The speaker button is going to repeat the directions, and use the hint button. The major takeaway from DreamBox is that it's very good at adapting to the student's level, but it's not assignable. DreamBox complements teacher instruction by accelerating students with their strengths and remediating foundational skills so that the teacher can focus on grade level content in the classroom. Because DreamBox creates this pathway and adapts, teachers cannot easily interrupt the sequence or redirect students, and so it's more challenging to tie closely to teacher-presented material.